The sky burned. An alien fleet, massive and merciless, had just launched their assault on Earth, bombing us into submission. The thought of us cowering in fear? Adorable. You bombed us. General Maddox grinned, turning to his team. Well, watch this. The first Zorathian bombs had fallen at 3:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. By 3:48, half of New York was gone. By 3:50, London was burning. By 4 o'clock, the count of destroyed cities had reached double digits. The Zorathians were nothing if not efficient. Commander Krextal of the Zorathian Empire stood on his flagship's bridge, mandibles clicking in satisfaction. The tactical displays showed Earth's defenses crumbling like dried leaves. Their satellites destroyed. Their missile systems neutralized. Their spirit surely broken. Pitiful, his lieutenant observed, watching another city disappear in nuclear fire. Intel was correct. They exhaust themselves with internal conflicts. No unified defense. No coordinated response. As expected, Krextal agreed. 20 rotations of observing them showed the truth. They can barely stop fighting each other long enough to notice external threats. Begin Phase 2. Total subjugation within one cycle. In an underground bunker somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Maddox watched the same displays with very different eyes. His team around him was in various states of panic, despair, and rage. Cities they'd grown up in, people they'd known, all gone in minutes. Sir, Colonel Hayes' voice cracked, European command is offline. Pacific Fleet is, sir, it's gone. They're systematically destroying every military installation on the planet. I can see that, Colonel. Maddox's voice was oddly calm, almost amused. Sir? Hayes stared at him. With all due respect, we're being annihilated. This isn't the time for what? Panic? Maddox turned from the screens and Hayes saw something in his eyes that made her step back. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even anger. It was anticipation. Tell me, Colonel, what do you know about Project Mockingbird? That's a myth, sir. Cold War paranoia about weaponized psychology. Oh, it's very real. Maddox's grin widened. And these Zorathians just gave us the perfect excuse to use it. They think they're bombing a divided, weakened species. He turned to his communications officer. Lieutenant Martinez, activate the Babel protocol. Sir, that'll burn out every civilian transmitter on the planet. Do it. But sir, without communications. Lieutenant. Maddox's voice carried the weight of someone who'd seen too many impossible situations. They bombed us. Killed millions. Thought we'd roll over and die. They need to learn something about humans. When you back us into a corner, when you take everything from us. He paused, savoring the moment. That's when we get creative. Across the planet, as Zorathian bombs continued to fall, something strange began to happen. Every surviving screen, every radio, every device capable of producing sound began broadcasting the same thing. Not a message, not a plea, a laugh. 7 billion voices, laughing in unison. On the Zorathian flagship, Commander Krextal's satisfaction turned to confusion. What is this noise? Unknown, Commander. It appears to be amusement from multiple sources across the planet. They laugh as they die? Krextal's mandibles twitched uncertainly. Scan for weapons. This must be. The laughing stopped. In its place, a single voice spoke. Not in Zorathian, but in perfect, accentless universal standard, the mathematical language the Zorathians used for first contact protocols. A language no human should know. Hello, Commander Krextal. I'm General Marcus Maddox. Lovely ships you have there. Shame about what's going to happen to them. Impossible, Krextal breathed. How do you know this language? How do you know my name? Oh, we've been listening to your communications for months. Your encryption is adorable, by the way. Like a child's puzzle. But here's the thing about humans, we're very good at puzzles. And we're even better at turning the pieces into weapons. Enough. Continue bombardment. Destroy them all. See, that's the problem, Maddox continued conversationally. You already did. You've bombed our cities, killed our people. There's nothing left to threaten us with. Do you know what that makes us? Dead. Krextal roared. Free. Maddox's voice carried a terrible joy. Free to do something we've been planning since we first detected your scouts. You thought you were studying us? We were studying you. Every ship movement. Every protocol. Every psychological weakness. Did you know your species has a hereditary fear of certain frequencies? Of course you didn't. You bred it out of your conscious minds. But it's still there, buried in your genetic code. You're bluffing. Primitive species cannot. The sound that erupted from every speaker on every Zorathian ship wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was precisely calibrated, a frequency that human ears couldn't even detect, but one that spoke directly to the Zorathian hindbrain. The part that remembered when they were prey, not predators. Every Zorathian on every ship froze. Not in pain, but in primordial, paralyzing terror. That's the funny thing about evolution, Maddox said as his team worked frantically behind him. You can conquer the stars, build the biggest ships, drop the biggest bombs. But you can't escape what you are at the core. And at your core, Commander, you're still the little scurrying things that hid from predators in the methane swamps of Zorath Prime. On Earth, the survivors emerged from their shelters to see something impossible. The Zorathian fleet, moments before raining death from above, now hung motionless. Some ships were already beginning to drift, their crews too terrified to maintain position. Now, Maddox continued, let's talk about those bombs you dropped. Very impressive. Killed millions. Destroyed centuries of human achievement. Made us very, very angry. Do you know what humans do when we're angry, Commander? Krextal couldn't answer. The fear response was too strong, his whole body locked in evolutionary panic. We get even. But not with bombs. That's your way, big, loud, obvious. No, when humans get even, we get psychological. We get inside your head. We find what makes you tick and then we break it. Permanently. The fear frequency shifted, modulated, became something worse. Now it carried images, sensations, memories pulled from the Zorathian collective unconscious. Every ship became a nightmare chamber of their species' worst fears made manifest. You see, Maddox said, watching as Zorathian ships began fleeing in all directions, some jumping to hyperspace without coordinates, others simply shutting down as their crews abandoned posts. You made a classic mistake. You thought that because we fight among ourselves, we're weak. But human conflict made us experts at understanding our enemies. We've been practicing on each other for millennia. Psychological warfare, mimetic weapons, neural manipulation, we turned hurting each other into an art form. The Zorathian fleet was in chaos. Ships collided in their panic to escape. Others fired weapons randomly, hitting their own forces. Within minutes, the most powerful invasion force in the galaxy had reduced itself to scattered wreckage and fleeing survivors. Commander Krextal, Maddox said to the one ship still maintaining position, paralyzed rather than fleeing. I want you to take a message back to your empire. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth is off limits. Not because we'll defeat them with superior firepower, but because we'll reach into their minds and turn their own evolution against them. We'll make them fear the dark like their ancestors did. We'll make space itself feel like a predator. He paused, letting the weight of it sink in. You bombed us. Killed our people. Destroyed our cities. And our response? We hacked your biology. We turned your own minds into weapons against you. Imagine what we'll do if you come back. Imagine what we'll create when we're not just angry, but prepared. The fear frequency cut off. Across the Zorathian fleet, thousands of aliens found themselves suddenly free but forever changed. The memory of that paralyzing terror would never leave them. They'd carry it back to their empire, spread it like a virus. Earth would become legend, eh? Not as a conquered world, but as the planet that fought back with nightmares. Krextal's ship turned and fled, joining the scattered remnants of his fleet. His last sensor reading of Earth showed humans emerging from the rubble of their cities. Not broken. Not defeated. Building. In his bunker, Maddox finally allowed himself to slump in his chair. Around him, his team stared in awe and horror at what they'd just accomplished. Sir, Colonel Hayes whispered, how long have we had this capability? 70 years, give or take, Maddox replied. Ever since we figured out that every species has evolutionary baggage. Fears and responses coded so deep they can't be overwritten. We just needed the right motivation to use it. And if they come back? Maddox smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then we show them phase 2. This was just their fear response. We haven't even touched their guilt complexes, their mating imperatives, their hierarchical instincts. We've got a whole arsenal of psychological weapons, Colonel. Bombing us just gave us permission to use them. He stood, looking at the screens showing Earth's devastated cities. Send a message to all surviving commands. Tell them to start rebuilding. But more importantly, tell them to start preparing. The universe just learned that humans don't need bigger bombs or better ships. We just need to understand our enemies better than they understand themselves. He walked to the door, then paused. Oh, and Colonel? Make sure the recording of today gets accidentally leaked to every spacefaring civilization. Let them all know what happens when you bomb Earth. Let them know we don't just fight back. We reach into your mind and turn your own brain into our battlefield. As news of the Zorathian defeat spread across the galaxy, a new phrase entered the universal lexicon. A warning, promise, a truth that would echo through the stars for generations. You can bomb their cities. You can destroy their fleets. You can kill their people. But you can never break them. Because humans don't just survive, they evolve. And what they evolve into, that's the nightmare that keeps the universe awake. They are the species that turn trauma into a weapon and psychology into warfare. Cross them at your peril, for their revenge isn't death, it's making you wish for it.